You awoke to the soft rays of sunlight filtering through the bedroom curtains. It was a new day, but the familiar sense of loneliness greeted you like a shadow. You rolled over in bed to find your husband Jungkook still sleeping beside you. His back was turned. The only sound in the room is his steady breathing. It was as if an invisible wall had been erected between you both, and each morning you hoped to find it gone, but only to meet with the same cold barrier. You both had been married for 1 year, but Jungkook's behavior hadn't changed. He was the same stoic, reserved man you known from the beginning. Despite your attempts to break through his cold exterior, he had never opened up. You always tried to bridge the gap, asking about his day, sharing stories from your own, but his responses were always brief, his eyes focused elsewhere. In the kitchen, you prepared his coffee just the way he liked it. It was a small gesture, one of many you made to show your love, hoping that one day he might notice. Jungkook finally came downstairs. He nodded in acknowledgement of the coffee but said nothing else. He sat at the kitchen table, his eyes fixed on his phone, scrolling through the news. You sat beside him, stirring your coffee, hoping for a spark of conversation. Any plans for the day? You asked, trying to sound cheerful. Work, he replied without looking up. You nodded, a familiar disappointment settling in your chest. You wanted to scream, to demand that he open up, but you know it wouldn't help. Jungkook wasn't a bad man, he was just distant. It was as if he lived in a world of his own, where you was an observer. After breakfast, Jungkook left for work. You watched him go, feeling a mix of love and sadness. You loved him because he was your husband, but you yearned for more, for a connection that went beyond the surface. That evening when Jungkook returned home, you decided to try again. You cooked his favorite meal, hoping it might spark a conversation. You both sat at the dining table, the silence stretching between you both. How was your work? You asked, trying to sound interested. It was fine, he replied, focusing on his plate. You sighed, feeling the weight of his indifference. You know you needed to do something, but you didn't know what. You wanted to believe that Jungkook cared, but his actions made it hard to hold on to that hope. After dinner, Jungkook retreated to his work, leaving you alone in the living room. You sat on the couch, hugging a pillow to your chest, feeling the emptiness that had become all too familiar. You decided to make a coffee for him, hoping it might cheer him up or at least give him a reason to take a short break from work. You made the coffee strong and rich with a hint of cinnamon. With the steaming cup in the hand, you walked down the hallway to his workroom. The door was closed, but you could hear the sound of clicks from his keyboard. You knocked lightly, but not wanting to startle him. But there was no response, so you knocked again, a bit louder this time. Come in. Jungkook's voice called, muffled by the door. You opened the door slowly and stepped inside. Jungkook was sitting at his desk, his eyes fixed on the computer screen. He barely glanced in your direction as you entered the room. Hey, I brought you some coffee. Your voice soft yet hopeful. Jungkook gave a slight nod, not looking up from his work. Thanks, he mumbled. He reached out a hand without turning his head, signaling for you to keep the cup on desk. You felt a pang of disappointment but kept a smile on your face as you placed the coffee on his desk. I thought you might need a break, you said, trying to engage him in conversation. He made a non-committal sound, a low hum. You stood there for a moment, waiting for him to say something, to acknowledge your presence in some way, but he didn't. He simply sipped the coffee, his eyes never leaving the screen. Okay, well, I will let you get back to your work. You said, your voice tingled with sadness. You had hoped for a little more, a smile, a thank you, or even a quick conversation, but none happened. As you left the room, closing the door quietly behind you, a sense of loneliness washed over you, but it always hurts, especially when you was trying to do something nice for him. You walked back to the hall feeling sad. You know that Jungkook's work was important, but you couldn't. But wonder if you was still important to him. It was hard to tell when he barely spoke to you, when his only response to your gestures was a simple nod or a hum. Next morning it was Saturday and you was preparing breakfast. Jungkook was home today. And although you didn't expect much conversation, you hoped that a leisurely weekend might help bridge the gap between you two. As you flipped the pancakes, you heard the shower turned off. Jungkook would be down soon, probably to grab some water before disappearing into his workroom. A few minutes later, Jungkook walked into the kitchen, a towel wrapped around his waist, and his hair was still wet. He passed you to get to the fridge for water. You glanced at him and something caught your eye. It was a tattoo just above his chest. The tattoo was your name. You blinked in surprise. You turned off the stove and turned to him. Jungkook, is that my name? You asked, pointing the tattoo. He paused, looking down at his chest, as if he had forgotten about it. Yeah, he replied, taking a sip of water. When did you get that? And why? You asked, trying to keep your voice steady. Jungkook hesitated. A few weeks ago, I just wanted to. But you never said anything. Why you got my name tattooed on your chest if you never talked to me? Jungkook set the water bottle in the fridge, his shoulders tensing. He seemed to struggle with his words, his gaze fixed on the floor. It's not easy for me to talk about things, Ryan. You know that. But this is more than just not talking. You pressed, feeling a surge of frustration. You don't even look at me most of the time. And now you have this tattoo, and how I'm supposed to understand what it means. Jungkook sat, running a hand through his hair. I know I have been distant. It's not because I don't care. It's because I don't know how to show it. I thought maybe the tattoo would be a way to show you that you are important to me, even if I am not good with words. You felt a relief that he cared, but also sadness that he couldn't express it in a way that you needed. But why can't you talk to me? Why can't you just tell me how you feel? You asked, tears welling up in your eyes. Jungkook looked at you. I was raised in a family where emotions weren't discussed. My dad was strict and my mom always busy. We didn't talk about our feelings. We just did what we had to do. I guess I learned to keep things to myself. That's not excuse. We are married, Jungkook. You can't just ignore me and think a tattoo will fix everything. I know, I'm sorry, Vayan. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just don't know how to be open, how to let someone in. You took a deep breath trying to steady yourself. I need more than a tattoo, Jungkook. I need you to be present, to talk to me, to show me that you care. Can you do that? Jungkook nodded. I will try, Vayan. I promise. I just need you to be patient with me. It's not easy, but I'm willing to try. You reached out and took his hand, feeling the warmth of his skin against yours. His expression was softening as he looked at you. It's the least I could do, he said, referring to the tattoo. I know I haven't been the best at showing you that I care. You moved closer, wrapping your arms around his waist in a gentle hug. You rested your head on his chest. It was a small gesture, but it felt like a bridge built between you both. You touched the tattoo, your fingers tracing the outlines of your name, feeling the raised edges of the ink. It's actually pretty good. I like the design. Very bold, you said, looking up at him with a small smile. Jungkook chuckled. It was rare to hear him laugh. Yeah, I wanted it to be something you would like. I'm glad you approve. The sound of his giggle made your heart soar. The coldness that had settled between you both melting away. You squeezed him a little tighter, feeling the warmth of his embrace. Jungkook, I need you to talk to me and share everything with me. I'm working on it, I promise, but it's just not easy for me. You nodded, understanding his struggle. You know that breaking through years of emotional walls wouldn't happen overnight. As long as you are trying, that's what matters. You both stood there for a while, just holding each other, the kitchen filled with the warmth of your renewed connection. You both know it would take time to rebuild what had been lost, but this moment felt like a step in the right direction. As you both pulled apart, Jungkook leaned down and kissed your forehead. Thanks for being patient with me, and thanks for the coffee yesterday night. You laughed, your earlier frustration fading away. It's okay, now let's eat breakfast. You both sat down at the kitchen table, the conversation flowing more easily than it had in months. The journey was just beginning and you was ready to take it with him.